We gonna get started. Pretty day outside. Everybody needs to be camping. And I bet I can figure out a couple places you can buy a motorhome at in here. House Bill 297 is what we had to come back on, and I appreciate all y'all showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I thought we were going to have another bill that took care of agritourism, but it got sent to judiciary, and you get a bunch of lawyers dealing with it at Word. We need to get that bill out, and I thought we could do it today, but it got sent to the wrong committee. Maybe Matt can handle it down there. It's in your subcommittee? Well, that's good. That makes me feel better about it. Alan, you want to talk a little about your bill here?
Good morning, and thank y'all for receiving me.
Wait. Jay made a motion to take it off the table. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, now go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank members of the committee for sticking with us yesterday and hearing out everybody. A lot of folks came up to speak on the bill, and I appreciate the chairman giving us the patience of the committee to be heard. Again, just to kind of go over summarize what we talked about yesterday. The intent of my bill is to protect a show in Perry, Georgia, which is a very large RV show put on by the Family Motor Coach Association. They bring in about 6,000 RVs, and they have pre-rallies prior to that all over the state, and really helps out rural Georgia. This is an economic development bill. If we do not make some kind of arrangements for the Family Motor Coach Association, we stand to lose the show and an economic impact of close to $25 million. Working with the RV dealers, they had raised some real concern yesterday, and I think the committee was wise to give us over the night to work on some changes. One of the things that came up yesterday was the manufacturer was actually making the dealers that participated in the show buy a large amount of product to take back to their home facilities. And in the committee's wisdom, we have a committee substitute. Hopefully you're reviewing it now. It's LC 254864S, and that's what we'll be referring to. And if y'all look down on section section 1, part B, what remained in there from yesterday is the fact that we still have the 2,500 registered RVs would be exempt. If you have that many registered RVs, you'd be exempt from the above part of the section. Then we went on to add that nobody would be discriminated to participate in the show, and there's discrimination language there. And then also to protect the dealers from having to buy that large amount of product, that no manufacturer could require a dealer to buy product to participate in the show. There's one line I'd like the committee to consider adding to better clarify what a recreational or what a registered vehicle is, and like to insert behind recreational vehicles, or actually, Council, will you read that line?
Yes. On line 23, at the beginning of the line, strike the word registered, and then after the phrase recreational vehicles, but before the semicolon, insert the phrase which are registered with the sponsor of said event.
Just better clarifies, because a registered vehicle could be one that has a tag. We want to make sure that they're registered with the sponsoring event. I would ask for y'all's favorable consideration. You heard the debate yesterday. You heard how important this is to our state, that we take some action on this to protect a large economic impact to the state, and also to give what I feel like is some protection to our local dealers, and really is what a very important part of it to me, and hopefully to this committee as well. And I'm sure there's others that want to speak on this.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody on the committee have any questions about the changes that you may be looking at? Let me get this straight for everybody here. It doesn't discriminate. It's still 2,500 minimum. They got to be registered with whoever's putting the event on, and the manufacturers cannot require a Georgia dealer to purchase X number amount of motorhomes or campers or whatever.
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
And that's basically what that does, right? But if you're going to participate in the show, you still got to buy the space just like everybody else.
My understanding is either you would come as a guest of the manufacturer or you or buy space on your own from Family Motor Coach.
Okay. But the manufacturer cannot make you buy.
They also cannot make you come to their booth only. You're more than welcome to have your own sales area.
But other than whatever you got worked out, whatever the dealer had worked out with the manufacturer previous to this, as far as what they got to buy and don't have to buy, that's it.
And the biggest protection is they don't have to buy a product from the manufacturer.
Right. Okay. Anybody got any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Out of abundance of caution, if y'all don't talk forever in 3 days, okay.
Thank you for your time this morning. My name is Steve Lewis. The bill before us, although a Georgia dealer would not be required to purchase inventory to participate, it also doesn't make sure that he would be allowed to participate, would be invited. So it's really the manufacturers handpick who's buying, who's spending the most money with them to participate and do this rally. So even though I could say, you say I could go and not buy anything, that's not going to say that I would be invited to go, number one. Number two, on the registered 2,500 registered recreational vehicles, one of the largest RV conglomerates, they're the Walmart of what I do for a living, held their rally in Daytona at the Speedway in April. And state law in Florida prohibited me from participating in that show. But our show will be full of Florida dealers unless we uphold our law right now. And that was April of '06. I want the rally to come. My mom and dad will be at this rally. They spend most of their time in Florida, but they have a residence next door to me in Beaufort. And they like to go there and rekindle old friendships. I want the Ag Center to do well. I know what the Ag Center rents for, and I know what the paid attendance for one motor coach to participate is, and the dollars are grossly exaggerated with someone who takes their motor coach from Florida that holds 100 to 130 gallons of fuel. Will they buy diesel fuel in Georgia? They will if it's cheaper, and they know before they cross the state line in Jennings, Florida, whether it's cheaper or not. You do have a lot of dollars from vendors from out of state, hotels, restaurants, because I have participated in a lot of these rallies myself. Hotel rooms are a premium. You don't pay a $200 a night for an $80 hotel somewhere. I do like the wording, however, it still allows the manufacturer's favorite dealers from California, Texas, and Florida to come here to participate without at least the Georgia dealers being a majority or first asked or something of that nature. I'm going to keep it short because you asked me to. I appreciate your time this morning.
Yes. Okay. You mind asking a question, please, sir?
Mr. Lewis, if this bill passes as a substitute as a member, it still doesn't prohibit you from participating in this show today.
It should not. But that doesn't mean that they're only going to use 4 dealers to represent a space of 100 by 200, that I will be one of those dealers.
But you can rent additional space, not just from what the manufacturer offers you.
Not necessarily.
Why?
If I don't...
Explain that to me. What's to prohibit you? You're talking about 100 by 200 that a manufacturer may have paid for. What's to prohibit you from participating in this show?
The nearest dealer to Perry, Georgia, who has the franchise agreement for that area.
You mean you cannot, as a Georgia company, participate?
Probably half my product, yes.
What's going to keep you from participating with all of your products?
For example, I don't have the territory of Perry, Georgia for 2 or 3 brands.
All right, but if they came to Buford and offered that, the Perry dealer couldn't. You could in Perry, in Buford, but the Perry dealer couldn't.
That is correct.
Now, how do we referee that fight between Perry and Buford?
First of all, the law as it states protects the franchised agreements that are in place between the dealer and the manufacturer. This supersedes that. That does not, however, I'm sorry.
How does it supersede? How does it supersede Perry's?
The law as it's written today protects the dealer franchised agreement between us and the manufacturer, and this tears it down.
What I just heard you say, though, if it's a Perry dealer would be able to participate, you would.
Yes, a Perry dealer would.
So I must be missing the point of what you're trying to. You get to participate, but it may not be on a product if someone in Perry has the dealership.
Right. Not all my brands do I have half the state of Georgia. Some of my brands I have the whole state. Some of my brands I have a 25-mile radius of Lawrenceville. So I'd actually have to look at my agreement with this manufacturer and see is Perry, Georgia in my legal selling area. Correct.
However, you could lease space and offer the XYZ product because you got the entire state.
Yes, I could. Now, I do want to point out that every motor coach that's put in the manufacturer display is driven, prepped, cleaned, and plugged in and maintained by the manufacturer. So if I'm next door competing with a dealer from California that's getting a free lunch, and on Sunday, when you come down there and say, I know you don't want to pay $3,000 to drive this motor coach back to California, once you give it to me $3,000 below invoice, and I'll take it today. And then you'll bring it to my dealership on Monday to show you how it works.
What I'm getting at is you're still not prohibited if you have a franchise in that area from participating, even if a manufacturer is there.
Right. But as the bill is rated, all these people from out of state do not have a franchised agreement in that area. Thank you.
Well, got one more question for you. I heard one of your objections to be that in Florida you're not allowed to participate in a similar show, but the Florida folks are.
Right.
How many other states is that true for?
I don't know the exact count legislation. I do know that we're not allowed to go to Tennessee. We're not allowed to go to Florida. I don't know Alabama, but I don't think I would go there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are these family motor coach shows as well? Those rallies?
It's pretty much any rally because, see, once you get the participation up high enough, is that prepaid? Is that paid at the door? You're opening up a can of worms as attendance.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is, and this was my thought, was what if there was a reciprocity provision included in here? In other words, folks in states where you could participate on equal foot, we treat equal folks equally.
I'm sure that we could take it to them, to the Georgia RV Dealers Association and let them decide on that. It would be certainly a nice compromise.
Okay. I mean, you understand where I'm getting at. If you're excluded from Florida, then Florida would be excluded from here. Florida lets you in, you'd be allowed in.
Right.
Under the same rules.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one other question. One other line of thought. Mr. Lewis, I'm not picking on you, you just haven't been on the podium. Are you prohibited in Florida because even if a national manufacturer picks you, are you prohibited in Florida?
Yes, I am.
By Florida law?
Yes, I am.
But it must be a Florida deal. And Florida.
Yes, sir.
What national manufacturer must, if they lease space, they cannot bring the coaches in to sell?
Say that again.
Can a national manufacturer bring products into Florida?
Yes, they can, for show. But a manufacturer sells nothing to the public, technically
They
speaking.
have to use a Florida dealer if they sell something.
Yes, they do. And I was invited to go with 2 brands to Florida, but excluded by law. So, yes, you can be invited, and I go.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You got it.
Chairman, I would move that LC 254864S be a do pass motion as amended by striking registered on line 23, inserting before the semicolon, which are registered with the sponsor of the
Can I get a second on that? And then we got another little piece in it may help some feelings.
I got a second. Okay. We got one other little piece that Amy put in there to take care of the Georgia dealers. I'm going to ask council if he will to read it.
Again, this would be on line 23. After the phrase, provided however that, after the word that, insert the following.
And say what?
On line 23, after the phrase, provided however that, after the word that, insert this phrase. All franchise Georgia dealers for a participating manufacturer shall be invited to said event, comma, and. Again, the insertion would read, all franchise Georgia dealers for a participating manufacturer shall be invited to said event, comma, and.
All right, Mac.
Wayne, with that phrase in there, shouldn't it have, I certainly not what you much better drafting than I am, but shouldn't it say who's going to invite you? Is this by the manufacturer, or is this by the sponsor? I think the intent's by the sponsor.
It would be by the manufacturer.
All right, let me ask you a question. I heard Mr. Lewis just say that even if he was a franchise, if he had a franchise of XYZ product, and there was a dealer in Perry for a franchise of XYZ product, aren't you fixing to cause problems within the agreement between the franchisor and the franchisee?
I think so.
Go ahead, Wayne.
I mean, I'm not opposed to what you're intending, trying to help these gentlemen, but what I think you're fixing to do is set up a real problem between dealers and manufacturers with that statement.
In response to your question, it would certainly, if an existing franchise agreement provided for some kind of exclusion, the statute could not impair an obligation of current contract. Any new contract or renewal of an existing contract, it could control, but not as to an existing agreement, to the extent of some exclusion.
So, may I follow, Mr. Chairman? Okay.
Yeah, y'all go ahead.
I understand your impairment of contracts. You can't do prohibition on the impairment of contracts by general law. However, this would supersede any contract between a manufacturer and dealers after the date of enactment of this, as you just, if I understood what you just said, either on new dealership agreements or on renewal of dealership agreements.
Yes, sir.
So what you may be doing is actually hurting these dealers in the long run, where they may have a franchise with, they may have a franchise for a certain product. Mr. Lewis may have it in Lawrenceville, somebody have it in Perry, it comes back up for a renewal, they may cancel his because they have someone in Perry. I'm somewhat leery of putting that in there because of conflicts on, not on existing contracts as much as future contracts.
Ellis's light is on, but I think it's Penny. She don't look a whole nothing like Ellis.
So Pat, I have a boat manufacturer in my deal, and I know they have a lot of franchises, and we've worked through these franchise problems before. Suppose you have a dealer that you're probably having trouble with, that he's not really been fulfilling all his obligations, and you're ready to terminate him. Do you still have to invite him even though he's not selling anything? And I just see it open up a can of worms about it. Why somebody to invite you? I mean, you've had so many people there that your own hometown dealer can't be getting.
You both?
Well, the only thing, let me follow up on that, what Max said. Like if someone has a franchise for the southern half of Georgia and over for the northern half of Georgia, they'd both be invited. Is that what would happen here? Is that or if you had regional ones in areas, they would all have to be invited. But you know what that does is it does at least keep the sales through the dealers rather than to the manufacturer.
Possible.
Yeah. But I don't know what discriminate means. Would that mean that it necessarily had to be done? It says they invited and the manufacturer still have his booth there.
Can I make another point? But when it came up for renewal of these contracts, if I had just a so-so dealer, I wouldn't renew his contract package the next time.
But you wouldn't do that anyway, regardless of the sale.
I might go along with it if I had to bring him in and hurt one of my main dealers. That's just, I think you didn't.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I understand where Representative Ford's coming from, but I also am afraid that this could be a two-edged sword for the dealer. I think it could help, but it also, on renewals or someone new coming in, if they were in the Perry area or in an area where this bill would apply, it could also hurt an existing dealer because they may not renew that existing dealer area of trade.
Wouldn't that have to do whether,
How does that deal with this specific show? Where it may hurt is that the Perry dealer better show up at the show or the North Georgia dealer is going to be there too. But at least this.
Or what if a Perry dealer decides not to participate, and he's got the area, and then one of these.
And then North Georgia got to
participate. My problem is hampering the future contract. What, Mr. Chairman, can I follow up? Could I ask, would it be inappropriate to ask these gentlemen their opinion of that?
We need to get it straight.
Well, I know.
And then I want to get Kevin and then get the author of the bill to take on this.
I don't want to hurt them worse. I don't want to come out of here hurt worse than, something that
I'm not sure I totally understand the question, but I do appreciate the fact of how intently you're looking at this to protect us. So, if you would, the question again.
Chairman, is it all right if I continue? With the language that all franchise dealers will be involved to participate, which was one of your concerns, and I think why we spoke first. How would this affect you with a manufacturer if there is already a dealer in the Perry area that has to carry, making it already on a future deal with your franchise agreement, or if you're a key dealer wanting to take on that product,
Right.
could they possibly exclude you by contract?
Probably. They probably could. I don't know that they would, because the reality of this, it takes several dealers to work a booth. If not, you're leaving your store vacant and you still don't have enough people. You know, I consider our little place of 14 acres and 50 employees pretty good size, but we're not as big as the Florida dealers. But
I'm not trying to, my concern is encouraging you
Right.
today, but in the future,
Right.
with your manufacturers, or giving your manufacturer a way to exclude you from a product that you made,
Right.
this was not there, you may not be able to pick up. It may be an excuse by a manufacturer.
Sure. From a personal standpoint, this is not legal because I'm obviously not an attorney. If there was 4 dealers for a brand in the state of Georgia and we had a statewide rally, my vote for the other dealers would be that all 4 dealers participate in it,
Well,
regardless.
I understand that,
But
but I also know how heavy-handed a manufacturer can be to use something
Yeah.
against you when they want to. I'm afraid by putting this into state law, that we're giving them a hammer if they want to use it against you.
Right.
Just because of one show, or, you know, right now it's just one show, it could be 10 shows 2 years from now. Who knows? But I don't want you to get hurt in the long run by something that we do trying to help you. You know, one of our problems here is we try to create ducks, and a lot of times we end up with bears in reality.
yeah.
Kevin had his light on that.
Thank you, man.
And Jay got his on. I want to hear from Adam first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, one of my concerns that it really is related to what Representative Crawford's getting at is actually I think if this passes, you guys will be in a worse position than the new franchisees, because this won't change your existing relationship, but it will affect the new contract. So I'm not sure that that's really what you're after. The reciprocity may help you if they, you know, they can't, if you're not dealing with something that's interfering with the contractual relationship but deals with the show, I think you're okay. But I think really you better be careful what you ask for, because you may get it with this thing. If what you're after, as I understand it, you just want to be on an equal playing field. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to have to allow all those dealers to participate in the same way that these folks who are in Florida who don't have a franchise for Perry or any other place are being allowed to participate in the show without a franchise for that area, right? And that's your concern. So it has to be an apples to apples and oranges to oranges kind of thing. And I guess what I'm getting at is what we need to do, it seems to me, if there's a way to do it, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for council's help if it makes sense to the committee, but is to say that if you're going to allow Florida dealers to come into Perry or wherever it is without a franchise, that you have to allow all the Georgia dealers for that one show, as you pointed out, into that show for the rally or for the pre-rally shows, whatever it is that you've got, so that everybody's allowed to participate on equal footing. We're not giving an advantage to out-of-state folks over Georgia folks.
Right. And I do appreciate the fact that you're looking at this closely, like you don't want to write something that's going to hurt us, and I'm obviously not the one that's going to be able to figure that out either, but that's probably very well put.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appropriate time, I will have a motion.
Long is right. While he's in it, let me get Tom that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just what I think we need to keep in focus is, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, this is a national show. Is that correct? This draws people from all 50 states. Number two, if I understood yesterday in the presentation from Representative Freeman, we're talking about 80 to 90% of the attendees are from out of state. So what we're talking about is it's important to make sure that the Georgia dealers have a crack at these people for buying their motorhomes. But isn't it true that the majority of them are going to go back home all excited about these motorhomes that they saw and go to their local dealers with the exception of some deals that they're going to have, some
Right.
show deals, and they're going to buy from their local dealer, including those attendees from your area. Is that not correct?
That would actually be my hope.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the total reality of it, but that's certainly the way it should work.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
One quick question. The way the bill is written, when we start talking about all franchise Georgia dealers shall be invited to said event, I don't see where it will affect the franchise laws that you've got there if you're all invited. If you choose to come or don't come, and I don't think it's going to affect future contracts because it's not dealing with every day of the year. It's just dealing at this rally. Am I not correct on that? And in your other mini rallies, or
Well, we're writing this legislation for the family motor coach, but we're quickly becoming the RV rally destination for the entire country. We want more of these shows, and we're not writing this for one show.
Right.
For things that are going to happen at the Perry Ag Center from now on, and I don't think we should apply or write the legislation only for the family motor coach. And we're not. We're trying to encourage as many of these rallies as we can get, but so we have more opportunity to sell RVs. While I'm here, in fact, if you'll let me get to the podium, so I just, they made mention about the Florida, not being able to sell in Florida. And it really makes my point pretty well that if we were to pass and continue to have the law that we have in place now, this show will go away because they won't go to Florida because of that very law that he's referred to. And that's not what I want to happen in the state, and I hope it's not what the committee wants to happen. To answer your question, well, what was your question, Jack? He's working up there. Sir, I'm good.
I have to.
All right, let me get Dr. Jean.
Mr. Chairman, I like the bill. I like the amendments.
You like which amendment?
I like all the amendments. I want everybody to be able to participate. I have some concern about the franchise rights, but I'll go to the wisdom of the committee and the council. Council, you don't feel like we're conflicting there?
Stay right there. Wayne, read what you just wrote that fixes, we hope, the franchise stuff.
Again, on line 23, page 1. After the phrase, provided however that, insert the following. No out-of-state dealers shall be invited to said event by a participating manufacturer unless all franchise Georgia dealers for such manufacturers shall be invited to said event. And I would also suggest, Mr. Chairman, for out of abundance of caution, to add a phrase at the end, on page 2, at the end of line 2, that nothing in this subsection shall be construed to impair an obligation of contract. The entire amendment?
Yeah, starting back.
I can't write backwards.
On page 2, add a new sentence at the end of line 2, that nothing in this subsection shall be construed to impair an obligation of contract existing on the effective date of this subsection. Again, on line 23, this is including the previous amendment that was adopted, but the addition would be on line 23 after the phrase, provided however that, insert the following. No out-of-state dealers shall be invited to said event by a participating manufacturer unless all franchise Georgia dealers for a participating manufacturer shall be invited to said event, and.
All right, what that basically says, they can't invite out-of-state folks unless they've invited Georgia folks. And whether it doesn't say that Georgia people have to participate, right?
Yes, sir.
Georgia people are still on.
again on line 23, after the phrase "provided however that," insert the following: no out-of-state dealers shall be invited to said event by a participating manufacturer unless all franchised Georgia dealers for such participating manufacturer shall be invited to said event, and
the Georgia dealers still come under the same rules that out-of-state people do.
yes.
What you're
Yeah.
Wayne, what you're saying there is manufacturers can still bring in whoever they want to, but they've got to invite the Georgia dealers also.
Yes, sir.
Right.
All right. Let me ask a practical question on that. It doesn't, you get into this, then you're gonna get into a turf war over who's bringing what, and who's got what, who's on first. Am I reading it wrong? It means he can bring in a dealer out of Florida. He can invite them, but that doesn't say they're gonna be on equal footing.
Yeah.
Am I reading, I mean, I'm just asking from a practical standpoint.
Let them know the law you get into it, and then I want Wayne to answer.
Well, I'm a recovering lawyer, Mr. Chairman, so I don't count quite as much. But I would just say, too, one is just stylistic thing. I would recommend that if we go with that language, instead of saying no out-of-state dealers, we say no dealers outside of this state, just so that we're very specific as to what an out-of-state dealer means. But at some point, I think we're not going to be able to legislate complete equal treatment. As long as they're all coming to the table, and as long as they're all invited to the event, I'm not even sure I would feel comfortable going on Representative Houston says. I'm not sure that, if a dealer's not performing as well as another dealer, then he or she's not entitled to be treated equally, in my humble estimation. But I think this is going to, at some point, we got to get as close as we can and move forward, protect the dealers as best we can, and then just move forward on it.
Wayne, explain what.
Do we have any of these manufacturers?
Got what?
Are any of these manufacturers in our state that make these coaches, are they here?
In-state manufacturers are already exempt from the law.
Okay.
Wayne, would you explain what we got to get a move on here? Got to get the rules.
Just in response to the issue about still any discrimination, I think the language that's already there on the print on the page on substitute line 23 and 24 and 25 still prevents discrimination against the Georgia dealers.
So you could give an out-of-state, a manufacturer could give an out-of-state, you have to give an out-of-state dealer and an in-state dealer the same incentive on the same product.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I on? Listen, I happen to be a member of FMCA. I've been to several out-of-state rallies and been a member for over 30 years. I had Barth, country coach, executive. I got a Monaco now. And I was always under the impression as we go into these rallies and all the people are there, they go to a Fleetwood booth or they go to the Barth booth or they go to the Holiday Rambler or the Monaco or whatever, and that particular manufacturer then has whoever is the closest to bring that particular product. The manufacturer's main deal is to get in there and show what new things has gone from 206 to 207 to whatever, and they're not interested in selling the coaches there, but they're interested in showing where you can go back to your own dealer. And so the last two coaches I bought from Laser Days. I know y'all don't like that, but you go to different places and look for different deals, and I've never bought one at Raleigh, but I've gone to several rallies, and it's just something we were talking about today. I think we're getting confused, and somebody mentioned a while ago about other, because a family motor coach has got to be a vehicle that is self-propelled and you can drive step from the steering wheel into the coach. You can't have a pull camper, a fifth wheel or whatever. It's got to be a family motor coach. It's got to be a self-propelled vehicle. So I don't see how we're fussing about it.
Let me wade off on another area that said here, hit on my fence. These vehicles are subject to sales tax, are they not? What's our implication if you got about the collection of the sales tax on deals that are consummated at, I rather like this.
I'd have to get you.
They don't have to show proof of paying sales tax for it, and they'll get that. Just like almost.
Bill, you could pay with Alabama for 2.5%.
You
We're waiting to pay it at home and we don't collect it yet.
It don't work that way on a title thing.
You mean
Carolina, but you still got to pay Georgia sales tax whenever you get home to get you.
You're supposed to, but I live on the Florida line, and
I'm just an honest fella that lives in Georgia then. All right, Penny, and then we're going to do something here. Didn't you have your button, man? Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry. We'll go.
Mr. Chair, I would move for adoption of the amendments that were last read by council, tacked on to the amendments read earlier that have been moved on also. So I guess we'd be amending the amendment.
Y'all understand what he's saying? Just a second.
What we're going to vote on is only the amendment that Wayne has read that would be on line 23 and on page 2. There are two alternatives.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, if it would, I hate to ask this of council, they probably got a sore throat, but if we could have whatever we're passing just read, so we'll know what we're spend so much on that.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Yes, sir. On line 23, I don't believe the first amendment has been adopted, has it?
No.
Okay. This is all in the form of one amendment. On line 23, begin by striking the word registered at the beginning of the line and inserting after the word vehicles and before the semicolon, which are registered with the sponsor of said event. Then again on line 23, after the phrase provided however that, insert the following. No dealers from out of state, in responding to Mr. Levitis' suggestion, no dealers from out of state shall be invited to said event by a participating manufacturer unless all franchise Georgia dealers for such participating manufacturers shall be invited to said event. And then finally, on page 2, at the end of line 2, after the period, insert a new sentence. Nothing in this subsection shall be construed to impair an obligation of contract existing on the effective date of this subsection. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, the only thing I would add,
Thank you, Wayne.
if we could just put in, I think it's outside of this state, is that how we have it? Or
From outside this state, yes.
Outside of this state, right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you fix that. Right.
Can I ask one last question before we vote?
If you hurry up.
I mean, serious.
Yes, sir.
If a manufacturer has a particular product that they want to exhibit and a Georgia dealer doesn't have that particular product and they can get it out of wherever it comes from, California, whatever, I think the manufacturer ought to be allowed to bring that particular product in to these big rallies.
I don't think we preventing that, are we?
Well, that's what you're doing if you say no out of state can come in.
No, that says unless, it says unless they have invited Georgia people.
Okay.
All right, Terry, you got a motion?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
One no. And all right, thank y'all for coming back. Thank y'all, the committee, for showing up at 8 o'clock. Oh, we voting on amendments. Now we got to vote on the bill? I thought, okay. Make a motion, somebody.
Make a motion.
Second. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You okay, Alan?
Thank you very much. I know y'all worked hard on it. Appreciate that.